Good morning, class. This is Mr. Fincher. We are about to start on our converging and diverging portion of the series and sequence unit. We're also going to talk about first and second differences. So let's go ahead and pause. I have before you pause, let me explain a couple of things about this warm-up. There are two formulas in the bottom to help you. And then for number 2, you're going to need your calculator. So go ahead and take 5 minutes to start on these 3 questions. Ready, go. All right, for number 1, this was an arithmetic sequence. We do have a sum formula on the bottom left of your screen. So that means we're going to plug in for every single piece those values. So we're told that the partial sum is -7. We know it's n over 2, and we're told that our first term, sorry, I wrote it a little bit different, but I like this better. First term is 8, and the second term is -10. So let's go ahead and add those up. We get -2. -7 equals -1, and because -2 divided by 2 is -1, divide both sides by -1, and we have 7 terms. All right, let's try the next one. For number 2, you have S sub 6. So 2, I'm not going to have enough space. I know the answer ends up being 49. Yes, but the way you set it up is the same, similar to what we just did with number 1, but it ends up being 2101 over 49 equals a sub 1 I'm going to pull out, and then you have 1 minus -1/7 to the 6th, right? Yes, 6th. Over 1 minus -1/7. So let's just double check. Maybe it isn't 49. We'll check it out and see what we get with this. So I'm going to clear this guy. I'm going to go to 2101 divided by 49. Oops. Press enter there. Times, let's multiply by 1 plus 1/7. And then let's divide by, there should be a parentheses here. Divide by 1 minus -1/7 to the 6th. So pretty much 49, I guess. A little tricky. That's what I'm getting, close to 49. 49.0033. Does that go into a fraction? Nope, it does not. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the number 3, and that one is in the denominator. We have things that are smaller, right? N minus 4, if we do factorials, we don't get to n minus 4. N minus 4 does not get to n minus 1. We want them to match. So it's n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3, and then n minus 4 factorial is what we have on the bottom. So we can cancel those. And then when you multiply this out, it should be n cubed minus 6n squared plus 11n minus 6. Pretty tricky warm-up, but very good. Lots of practice and lots of different ways to answer questions using the same knowledge. All right, like I said, for today, we're doing first and second differences. We're also doing converging, diverging for today. Find the first and second differences of a sequence and find the explicit form. We're also going to determine characteristics of an infinite sequence, and we're going to determine if a series converges or diverges. In the previous lessons, we talked about what a series and what a sequence is. Let's look at specifically a sequence that's a little bit more complicated than what we've seen in the past. The equation up at the top, that's called a quadratic equation. The reason why it's quadratic is that we have a degree of 2. This guy right here tells us that we're going to have to square some things. And that makes it a little bit more challenging. For our first thing we're going to do is create the table. We're going to work through each of these to see what the values are. So plugging in 1, that's 1 squared plus 1, which gives us 3. Easy enough. All right. If we do 2 squared plus 2 plus 1, that is 7. If we do 3 squared plus 3 plus 1, that's 9. Plus 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. And then we have 4 squared plus 4 plus 1, that's 16. Plus 4 is 20, equals 21. And then 5 squared plus 5 plus 1 gives us 25, 30, 31. And then 6 squared plus 6 plus 1, that's going to be 36 plus 6 is 42, plus 1 is 43. So that's a sequence that you might see. And it definitely looks weird. It looks like not something that we'd be able to just pick out and say, oh yeah, that's n squared plus n plus 1. But we do need to recognize that this is, it is quadratic. And here's how we go about finding that. So the first thing you do, we'll do this, we'll go back to the last slide, and we'll do each of these steps. So it says determine the first differences of the sequence. So if we go here, to get from 3 to 7, we're adding 4. All right, what's the difference here? To 7 to 13, that is adding 6. Here, that would be adding 8. This is adding 10. And this is adding 12. I see a pattern. Hopefully you do as well. That's our first step. So determine the first differences of the sequence. Then we're going to find the second difference. That's what it says. It says determine the second difference of the sequence. So let's do from 4 to 6, that's 2. From 2 to 8, that's 4 to 8, that's 2. From 8 to 10, that's 2. And from 10 to 12, that's also 2. So let's check it out. If the second differences are the same, it's a quadratic sequence. So this is our second difference set, and those are all the same numbers, so this is a quadratic. For all intents and purposes, that is kind of like showing a second degree. We actually have 2 levels that give us a constant. So if that's the case, then this is how you find the nth formula. And it's with your calculator. So get your calculator out and we'll show you how to do it. All right, so what you're going to do in your calculator, turn it on. Mine's not on. But what you're going to do is you're going to go to Stat button, which is right here under Delete. You're going to press Edit, and then we're going to put some data in here. So what we do for the L1 is we actually put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I have six sets of values that are given for this sequence. Now let's plug in our actual sequence, the actual terms. So 3, 7, 13, 21, 31, and 43. So if that is our sequence, then, and we already did this, but if that was our sequence and we're going backwards to try to figure out what it is, stat, calculate, we're going to go to the quadratic regression like it says here. Okay, quadratic regression. So with our quadratic regression, we press enter. We can go down to the word calculate and press enter, and we get 1, 1, 1. Okay, and that means that we write a sub n equals 1 n squared plus 1 n plus 1. Easy perch easy. So here are the steps. Easy to go. You're going to do this. All right, and I challenge you to try this guy on your own. We'll pick up with this on the next video. Good luck.